There is a point in life when you must stop looking sideways and begin looking inward. You will always find someone who appears ahead of you, someone who has more money, more recognition, more success, more opportunities, or a life that seems easier than yours. If you allow comparison to control your mind, you will spend your life measuring yourself against people whose circumstances you do not fully understand. You will become distracted from your own path. Stop comparing your journey to others, because comparison can quietly steal your attention from the only life you are actually responsible for building. The moment you begin measuring your progress against someone else's success, you give that person power over your emotions. Their achievement becomes your reason to feel behind. Their wealth becomes evidence that you are lacking. Their recognition becomes a reminder that you are unseen, and their progress becomes a threat to your confidence. Yet you rarely know the complete story behind what you are comparing yourself with. You see the result, but not the years of preparation, the sacrifices, the failures, the opportunities, the support, or the private struggles that produced it. You are comparing your entire reality with a carefully visible portion of someone else's reality. This creates a distorted judgment of your own life. Every person moves through a different sequence of circumstances. One person may succeed early, while another spends years developing skills before receiving recognition. Someone may appear to have everything at 25 and struggle later. Another may struggle for years and suddenly experience extraordinary progress. There is no universal schedule for growth. The danger of comparison is that it encourages you to abandon your own path simply because another person's path appears faster. You may change your goals, chase trends, copy personalities, accept opportunities that do not fit you, or make decisions based on jealousy rather than purpose. Instead of asking what you genuinely want, you begin asking what would make you look successful in the eyes of other people. That is a dangerous exchange because external approval can never provide permanent satisfaction. There will always be someone richer, more attractive, more talented, more experienced, or more recognized. If your confidence depends on being ahead of others, your confidence will always be unstable. Someone will eventually appear who seems to have more. A stronger approach is to measure yourself against your previous self. Ask whether you are more disciplined than you were last year. Ask whether your thinking has improved. Ask whether you handle pressure better. Ask whether you have developed skills that once seemed difficult. Ask whether you are becoming more responsible, patient, courageous, and capable. These comparisons create useful information because they focus on progress rather than competition. You begin to recognize small improvements that external comparison would have hidden. Focusing on your own journey also requires accepting that your path may contain periods that look unimpressive from the outside. There may be seasons when you are studying, practicing, saving, rebuilding, recovering from mistakes, or preparing for an opportunity that has not appeared yet. During these periods, someone else may appear to be moving much faster. Do not allow appearances to convince you that preparation is failure. A foundation is not visible once a building is completed, but without the foundation, the building cannot stand. Your quiet seasons can be building your foundation. Faith adds another dimension to this perspective. If you believe that God has a plan for your life, then constantly comparing your timing with someone else's timing can weaken your trust. You do not know what God is preparing you for, what lessons you need to learn, or why certain doors have remained closed. Your responsibility is to work faithfully with what has been placed in front of you. You can admire another person's success without turning admiration into envy. Someone else's achievement can become evidence of what is possible rather than proof that you are failing. Study what they did, learn from their discipline, and then return to your own path. Their success does not reduce the opportunities available to you. The world is not a single race where only one person can win. Your purpose requires a different combination of experiences, abilities, relationships, and timing. When you stop comparing, you recover enormous amounts of mental energy. Instead of checking who is ahead, you can improve your skills. Instead of worrying about recognition, you can produce better work. Instead of asking why someone else has received something, you can ask what you need to develop next. Your attention returns to the present, where your actual power exists. You cannot control another person's journey, but you can control how faithfully you walk your own. Let others have their timing, their victories, their struggles, and their lessons. Your task is to become stronger, wiser, more disciplined, and more prepared for the path that belongs to you. Control what is within your power, because much of your mental exhaustion comes from trying to control things that were never placed under your authority. You cannot control every event, every person's opinion, every opportunity, every delay, or every outcome. Yet people often spend enormous amounts of energy fighting these realities. They replay conversations, worry about what someone might think, become angry about circumstances they cannot change, and imagine endless versions of the future. The mind becomes trapped in a battle against uncertainty. But strength begins when you recognize the difference between what belongs to you and what does not. Your actions belong to you. Your preparation belongs to you. Your discipline belongs to you. Your response to difficulty belongs to you. Other people's reactions do not. The future does not. Timing does not. This distinction can completely change the way you move through life. Imagine working toward an important goal and facing an unexpected setback. You could spend days asking why this happened, blaming circumstances, becoming jealous of people who seem to have an easier path, or worrying about what the setback means for your future. None of those reactions necessarily improve your position. A more powerful response is to ask, what can I do now? That question brings your attention back to the present. Perhaps you can learn a new skill, change your strategy, seek better information, improve your preparation, or simply continue despite the obstacle. You may not control the problem, but you can control your response to it. This does not mean pretending that difficult circumstances are easy. Acceptance is not weakness. It is recognition of reality. When you accept what cannot be changed, you stop wasting energy fighting facts and begin using that energy intelligently. This principle is especially important when dealing with other people. You cannot force someone to respect you, love you, understand you, agree with you, or choose you. You can communicate clearly and behave with integrity, but the final response belongs to them. Trying to control another person's mind creates frustration because human beings naturally resist being controlled. Instead, focus on your own standards. Be respectful without becoming dependent on approval. Be honest without demanding that everyone accept your honesty. Walk away from situations that repeatedly violate your boundaries. Your power increases when your emotional stability no longer depends entirely on another person's behavior. The same principle applies to success. You can control the quality of your preparation, but you cannot guarantee the exact moment when an opportunity will appear. You can build valuable skills, but you cannot force the world to notice them immediately. You can work consistently, but external circumstances can still change. This is where patience becomes necessary. Patience is not passive waiting. It is continued action without emotional obsession over the timetable. You keep improving while accepting that results may arrive according to a schedule you cannot dictate. Faith can strengthen this mindset. Trusting God's plan means recognizing that your understanding is limited. You may see only one step while God sees the entire path. A delay may feel like rejection because you cannot yet see what it is preparing you for. This does not mean every hardship has an obvious explanation, but it means you do not have to destroy your peace trying to predict everything. Do your part faithfully and release what belongs beyond your control. Each day, separate your responsibilities from your worries. Ask what action is possible, what information is needed, what decision must be made, and what must simply be accepted. This practice trains your mind to become more deliberate. You stop reacting to every uncertainty as though it were an emergency. You become calmer because your attention is directed toward useful action rather than endless speculation. The person who controls what can be controlled becomes harder to disturb. Circumstances may change, people may leave, plans may fail, and opportunities may disappear, but your disciplined character, effort, and response remain yours to shape. Protect those things, build them carefully, then let the rest unfold without allowing uncertainty to control your mind. Turn your attention toward growth because the direction of your attention determines the direction of your life. When you constantly focus on what is missing, what went wrong, what other people have, or how far you still have to go, your mind becomes trapped in dissatisfaction. But when you deliberately focus on what you can learn, improve, and build, difficulty becomes a source of development rather than merely a source of frustration. Growth begins when you stop asking only, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What can this teach me?" This does not mean pretending that every painful experience is good. Some experiences are genuinely difficult, unfair, or disappointing. The point is that even when you cannot control what happened, you can decide what you do with the experience. Every challenge can reveal something about your weaknesses, habits, assumptions, or priorities. If you are willing to examine those lessons honestly, you become stronger through experience. Growth requires responsibility. It is easy to blame circumstances, other people, or bad timing for every problem. Sometimes those factors genuinely matter, but remaining focused on blame can prevent you from seeing what is still within your control. Ask yourself what part of the situation belongs to you. Did you fail to prepare? Did you ignore a warning? Did you trust the wrong person? Did you avoid an important conversation? Did you allow distraction to consume your time? These questions are not meant to create shame. They are meant to create power. When you identify something you can improve, you gain a direction for action. You should also develop the habit of learning continuously. Read, observe, practice, ask questions, study people who are more experienced, and expose yourself to ideas that challenge your assumptions. Do not limit yourself to information that confirms what you already believe. Growth often requires discovering that one of your old assumptions was incomplete. A flexible mind is more capable of adapting when circumstances change. Skill development is another important part of focusing on growth. If you want greater opportunities, become more capable of handling them. Improve your communication, discipline, decision-making, emotional control, technical abilities, or whatever skills are relevant to your goals. Do not wait for motivation to appear before practicing. Consistent action often creates motivation after progress becomes visible. Small improvements accumulate. One better decision today may seem insignificant, but hundreds of better decisions can completely change the direction of your life. Growth also requires patience with yourself. You should hold yourself to high standards without expecting instant transformation. If you have spent years developing certain habits, you may need time to replace them. Do not interpret slow progress as no progress. Measure movement over longer periods. A person who improves slightly every week can become dramatically different after a year. This is especially important when you are comparing yourself with others. Someone else may be ahead because they started earlier, had different circumstances, or developed certain skills sooner. Your responsibility is to keep developing your own capacity. Faith can help you remain patient during periods when growth is difficult to see. Trusting God's plan does not mean refusing to work. It means continuing to do your part while accepting that the timing of results may not be yours to control. There may be seasons when your greatest growth is internal. You may be developing patience, discipline, wisdom, resilience, or humility before external success becomes visible. Do not underestimate these invisible forms of preparation. They can determine whether you are actually ready when opportunity arrives. Growth also means becoming more selective about what deserves your attention. Not every argument deserves a response. Not every criticism deserves emotional investment. Not every distraction deserves access to your mind. Protect your attention so that it can be directed toward meaningful development. Each day, ask yourself what you are building, what you are learning, and what you are becoming. When your attention moves consistently toward growth, setbacks lose some of their power because they become information rather than identity. You are no longer defined by what happened to you. You become defined by how you respond, what you learn, and how deliberately you continue developing yourself. Trust the process when results are slow, because not every important transformation is visible immediately. One of the greatest tests of discipline is continuing to work when there is little evidence that your effort is producing anything. It is easy to remain motivated when progress is obvious, when people recognize your work, and when rewards arrive quickly. The difficult period begins when you are doing what you believe is right, but the outcome remains uncertain. You practice, yet you are still struggling. You work, yet opportunities seem distant. You pray, yet the answer does not arrive in the form you expected. This is where impatience can cause you to abandon something valuable before it has had enough time to develop. Slow results do not automatically mean that you are on the wrong path. Sometimes they mean that you are still being prepared. Growth often happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible. A tree does not appear the moment a seed is planted. There is a period of roots developing where almost nothing can be seen from the outside. Your life can have similar seasons. You may be developing knowledge, discipline, emotional strength, patience, relationships, or skills that will become valuable later. Because these changes are internal, you may mistakenly believe that nothing is happening. This is why you must learn to distinguish between lack of visible results and lack of meaningful progress. Trusting the process does not mean refusing to evaluate your direction. There is a difference between patience and stubbornness. If something clearly is not working, you should examine the evidence and make adjustments. Faith does not require you to ignore reality. You can remain committed to your purpose while changing your methods. Ask whether you are improving, learning, gaining experience, and moving closer to the result you want. If the answer is yes, continue refining your approach. If the answer is no, identify what needs to change. The key is not blind persistence, but intelligent persistence. You should also stop demanding that your progress follow someone else's timeline. Another person may achieve in 6 months what takes you 3 years. That does not mean your journey is inferior. Different people begin with different resources, circumstances, responsibilities, opportunities, and levels of preparation. Comparison can make a necessary season of preparation feel like failure. Instead, focus on whether you are becoming more capable than you were before. Patience becomes easier when you understand that meaningful achievement usually involves accumulation. A single day of practice may not transform you, but hundreds of days can. A single book may not change your thinking, but years of learning can reshape your judgment. One disciplined decision may seem insignificant, but repeated discipline eventually becomes character. Small actions become powerful when repeated long enough. This is why consistency is often more important than intensity. Many people work extremely hard for a short period, become frustrated by the lack of immediate results, and then quit. A calmer person may work steadily for years and eventually pass them. Long-term progress rewards those who can remain committed after the excitement disappears. Faith can provide strength during this period because it allows you to continue working without needing complete certainty about the future. Trusting God's plan means accepting that you may not understand the timing. You may want the door to open immediately, but perhaps you need more preparation. You may want one opportunity while another path is being formed. You may interpret delay as punishment when it may simply be a season you need to pass through. You cannot always see the purpose while you are inside the process. Therefore, focus on what you can do today. Improve one skill. complete one responsibility, make one disciplined decision, take one meaningful step. Do not demand that today's effort reveal tomorrow's entire outcome. Let your consistency accumulate. When results finally appear, you may realize that the slow period was not wasted time. It was the period in which you developed the strength, wisdom, and discipline necessary to handle what came next. Let go of what you cannot control, because carrying responsibility for things that do not belong to you can slowly exhaust your mind and weaken your ability to act on what actually matters. People often create unnecessary suffering by trying to control outcomes, opinions, relationships, timing, and circumstances that are naturally beyond their authority. They replay conversations, imagine different outcomes, worry about what others may think, and attempt to predict every possible problem before it happens. The mind becomes trapped in endless attempts to control uncertainty. But uncertainty is part of life. You cannot eliminate it, so you must learn how to live with it without allowing it to dominate you. Letting go does not mean becoming careless or giving up. It means recognizing the boundary between responsibility and obsession. You are responsible for your choices, your effort, your preparation, your behavior, and the way you respond to circumstances. You are not responsible for controlling another person's thoughts, emotions, decisions, or reactions. You can communicate honestly, but you cannot force someone to understand you. You can treat someone with respect, but you cannot force them to respect you. You can offer your best work, but you cannot guarantee that everyone will appreciate it. Once you understand this, you stop wasting energy trying to manage reactions that belong to other people. This is especially important when dealing with rejection. Being rejected can create the temptation to repeatedly ask what you could have done differently, what the other person is thinking, or how you can convince them to change their decision. Sometimes reflection is useful, but endless analysis becomes another form of attachment. Learn the lesson, make the necessary improvement, and then release the outcome. Not every closed door needs to be forced open. Some opportunities disappear because they were not meant for you, because the timing was wrong, or because another path is developing. You may not understand the reason immediately. This is where faith can provide perspective. Trusting God's plan means accepting that your understanding is limited. You may see one disappointing event, while God sees the larger sequence of your life. A delay may feel meaningless today and become understandable years later. This does not mean every painful event has an obvious explanation, but it means you do not have to destroy your peace demanding immediate answers. You can continue doing your part while releasing the need to control the final result. Letting go also applies to the past. You cannot change what already happened. You can learn from mistakes, apologize when necessary, repair what can be repaired, and change your future behavior, but you cannot travel backward and rewrite the event. Constant regret can become a prison because it keeps your attention attached to something that no longer exists. Use the past as information, not as a permanent identity. The same principle applies to the future. Planning is wise, but obsessing over every possible outcome is not preparation. There comes a point where you have gathered enough information and must simply act. Trust that you can respond to future problems when they arrive instead of suffering through them before they exist. Letting go requires emotional discipline. When something is outside your control, deliberately return your attention to the next action available to you. Work on your responsibilities, improve your skills, protect your health and relationships. Pray, reflect, rest, build what you can build. Release what you cannot command. The more you practice this separation, the calmer your mind becomes. You stop fighting invisible battles and begin investing your energy where it can actually produce change. You cannot control the entire path, but you can control how faithfully you walk it. Build your life with faith and discipline, because faith without action can become passive, while discipline without faith can become exhausting. When these two qualities work together, You develop the ability to work seriously toward your goals while accepting that the final outcome is not entirely under your control. Faith allows you to trust that your life has meaning even when circumstances are confusing. Discipline gives you the strength to continue doing what is necessary even when motivation disappears. Together, they create a balanced approach to life. Building with faith begins by accepting that you cannot see the entire path. You may know where you want to go, but you rarely know every obstacle, opportunity, delay, or unexpected turn that will appear along the way. This uncertainty can create fear, especially when you feel that everything depends on your ability to predict the future. But trying to control every detail is impossible. Faith teaches you to move forward without requiring complete certainty. You can make plans, gather information, prepare carefully, and still acknowledge that some outcomes belong beyond your control. This does not mean abandoning ambition. In fact, faith can give ambition greater stability because your identity is no longer completely dependent on immediate success. You can work hard without becoming destroyed by every setback. Discipline is what turns faith into daily behavior. If you believe you are being guided towards a meaningful purpose, you still have responsibilities to fulfill. You must wake up, learn, practice, work, make decisions, keep commitments, and improve your character. Waiting for the perfect sign while refusing to act is not discipline. Sometimes the next step becomes clear only after you begin moving. Take responsibility for the opportunities already in front of you. If you have a skill to develop, practice it. If you have a responsibility to complete, complete it. If you have a mistake to correct it. If you have a goal that requires patience, remain consistent. Faith does not remove the need for effort. It gives effort a deeper foundation. You should also develop discipline in your thoughts. The mind can become overwhelmed by imagined futures, comparisons, fear, and regret. When you repeatedly feed those thoughts, your attention becomes scattered. Instead, train yourself to return to what is real and actionable. Ask what you can do today. Perhaps you can improve one skill, complete one important task, have one honest conversation, or spend time in prayer and reflection. Small actions can restore a sense of direction when the future feels uncertain. Faith also requires patience. You may ask for an opportunity and receive preparation instead. You may pray for immediate change and instead find yourself developing endurance. You may want one specific outcome while life takes you in another direction. This can be difficult because human beings naturally want certainty and control, but sometimes the lesson is not simply about receiving what you requested. It is about becoming capable of handling what comes next. A person asking for greater responsibility must develop greater discipline. A person asking for influence must develop character. A person asking for success must develop the ability to manage success without losing themselves. This is why your preparation matters. Build the person who can carry the future you desire. At the same time, do not let discipline become obsession. Rest when you need rest. Adjust your plans when circumstances change. Learn from mistakes without becoming consumed by them. A disciplined life is not one where every moment is controlled perfectly. It is one where your actions repeatedly return to what matters most. Keep your standards while remaining flexible about methods. Trust while working. Pray while preparing. Hope while taking action. When circumstances move in your favor, remain humble. When circumstances move against you, remain steady. You may not understand why every door opens or closes, but you can continue developing yourself and honoring the responsibilities placed before you. Your task is not to control the entire future. Your task is to become ready for it. Build your character, strengthen your mind, develop your abilities, protect your attention, keep your faith, then continue walking, even when you cannot see the entire road ahead.